Now, don't get me wrong. I love a good cruise. I love a good cruise. But I've always been curious as to what happens to these cruise ships after they run its course. They get old and different things like that. What do they do with them? How do they dispose of them and things like that? So I came across this, and it says how rich nations dump old cruise ships and oil tankers in developing countries. Let's check it out.
This is where some of the largest ships in the world come to die. The Gadani Yard in Pakistan. But the place is also a death trap for the hundreds of men who work to break down these rusted giants for as little as $4 a day.
Did she just say $4 a day? $4 a day. Like how am I supposed to take care of myself on that? How am I supposed to have health care or benefits? See, that should be illegal. I don't care where on the planet it's taking place. It should be illegal. Should be illegal. Because they do that to people that they know pretty much don't have another choice. That should be illegal, bro. No way they should be able to get away with that.
तो मजबूरी की वजह से करना पड़ता है ना जितना भी खतरनाक हो तो करना पड़ता है.
Some of these vessels are here illegally, like the cruise ship Antares Experience, which came from Greece. International laws ban many foreign countries from dumping their toxic old ships on the beaches of developing countries for environmental reasons. Still, loopholes allow these giants to come here from China, the Middle East, and Europe through indirect routes.
Shipping companies deliberately lie to authorities. They do not disclose that their true intention is to scrap these ships in the worst possible yards located on the beaches of South Asia.
Meanwhile, most workers here come.
Now, you still got to take some accountability there. You got to. Because the first one, you'd be like, okay, they lied to us. The second one, they got us again. These sneaky jokers. The third, fourth, and fifth, at this point, we're looking at you and saying, okay, why do you keep allowing it? Why? Why do you keep letting them do this to you? So that leads me to believe that there's possibly some type of lucrative business in the background or some business deal going on in the background, and somebody's getting paid and just not divulging they're getting paid. And they're telling everybody else, I don't know, they keep doing this to us. And that person probably got paid.
Come from far off villages and have never even seen the ocean or a ship before. So why are these vessels ending up on the shores of Pakistan? And who is responsible for the safety of these underpaid workers propping up a billion-dollar recycling industry? This 85,000-ton Greek carrier supplied coal around the world. But after sailing for 21 years, the Enterprise Majuro is falling apart. At 150 feet tall and 900 feet long, this beast will take a fleet of 200 workers about 3 months to fillet for its parts. Many of them live right on the yard, like Azam Khan, who moved here from northern Pakistan.
देखो ये जीन और बलाओं का घर है, समंदर का किनारा है, तो न बाजार है इधर, न कोई रोशनी है, न कोई कुछ भी है.
These huts belong to the boss of this ship lot, and the men live here rent-free as long as they work 6 days a week and don't go outside past 8 p.m.
So where does the food come from? I heard animals. I heard a dog barking or anything like that. But what are they eating? Like, what? How are they? He said it's no markets, no nothing. What are they eating? And how are they getting it?
No one here has clean running water, and they all share a communal bathroom.
जानवरों का जिंदगी है, सेहत का ख्याल इधर नहीं रखा जाते. हमारा छोटी उम्र का तस्वीर आप देख ले, परेशान हो जाएगा।
Azam bandages his shoes for extra protection.
ये हम काम करता था, पैर के ऊपर लोहा गिरा, उससे चोट लगा, काफ़ी सा चोट लगा। मैंने कहा तो सर टांक नहीं है, चेकअप किया, हड्डी बचा हुआ था, गोश्त काटा था।
And I guess he gotta pretty much doctor himself when something like that happened. There's no medical facility anywhere. There's no markets, no nothing. So you gotta be doctor to yourself. Yeah. Nah, this is inhumane at its finest.
Azam's main job is to break up smaller parts once they've been separated from the rods that hold the body of the ship.
इधर काम करते हुए मैंने जख्मी बंदे को भी देखा, मरते हुए भी देखा। इस इलाके में नहीं, पूरा पाकिस्तान में और काम नहीं है ना। दूसरा जगह में कोई काम होता तो कोई पागल इधर आता।
Gadani gets mostly cargo carriers, oil tankers, and cruise liners. Like this 1994 Carnival Fascination, which sailed around the Caribbean to Miami until its features became outdated. The ship was sold to a Chinese cruise company, which soon decided to sell it for scrap. To break down vessels here, workers use what's called the gravity method. They mostly let the parts fall on their own. But that's how accidents can happen, says Muhammad Ashraf, who has worked here for half his life.
मुझे पता है ये चीज़ मेरे ऊपर आएगी या खतरनाक है। जब मौत आनी है रोड पे भी जा रहे तो वो तो आनी है।
Place done made them not even afraid of death, bro. They just like, it is what it is. It's your time. It's your time. Like, I guarantee if you interview some of them would be like, if they was honest with you, they'd be like, bro, I'm ready to go. What is waiting on? What am I waiting on? Like, there's no funeral service probably. There's just something happened to you. They may put your body in the water or bury you somewhere. But with the way this whole situation is set up, there might just be bodies just laying around, bro. Nobody ain't got time to tend to that.
Tractors drag the larger parts to shore, where workers break them down. Ashraf has to take apart this entire chamber. Most ships don't make it past the age of 30. Their insides begin to rust. Many contain poisonous chemicals like asbestos, residual oil, and toxic paint. And breathing the dust can cause permanent lung damage or death. Nearly 2,000 people have been severely injured or killed on this beach since the late 1960s. But that number is likely much higher. Many workers disappear or drown under falling parts, and their deaths often don't get tracked.
An international law.
So you can't even get attached to nobody there. Become friends. You come home from work, nobody's seen them. Nobody's seen them. Hey, y'all seen Johnny? That's just the end of them.
Enacted in 1992 technically requires countries to document all toxic waste before sending their ships abroad. But experts say this is often ignored.
A lot of vessels that are reaching the shores of South Asia for breaking receive import clearance based on fake documents. These documents declare that the vessels...
Hold on. To whom it may concern. That's never good when they start out a letter or anything like that. Based on the information available, we hereby confirm that the subject vessel is not carrying any hazardous cargo nor nuclear items on board, and presently is not carrying any carrying hazardous cargo on board. As such, the ship is safe without any non-hazardous materials. Just lying. This makes it even, to the best of our knowledge, said vessel has not been targeted by any authority for violation of provisions or of Marpol or any non-governmental organization in the respect, and vessel is not amongst the list of 50 vessels highlighted by Greenpeace carrying excessive hazardous materials on board. You liars. Liars.
Are toxic free. Workers, when they will take these vessels apart, they will face risks they are completely unaware of.
Shipbreaking became a big business in Pakistan in the 1980s, after Europe began regulating ship waste pollution on its own shores. That's when many developed nations started sending their vessels off to countries with lax environmental regulations and cheap labor. The industry grew across South Asia, with yards expanding rapidly in Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. In the late 80s and 90s, reports of accidents, poor work conditions, and child labor started to come out, triggering a wave of international laws that tried to regulate the business. Nowadays, developed countries aren't technically allowed to send their ships to places that don't have the same environmental standards and labor laws. But it happens anyway. Like with the Antares experience, which came from Greece illegally. We reached out to the ship's most recent recorded owners and operators, but did not get a response. But the most common paths are legal loopholes. For example, a European shipping company could get away with sending its vessel for scrapping to Pakistan if it first sends it to another country that's allowed to export it there. Another way to get around the law is by registering a ship under countries with lax regulations known as flags of convenience.
Like the Enterprise, which was owned by a Greek company but registered under the Marshall Islands, a country known for its low taxes. Reports
Then the owners, the previous owners of this ship, should be charged with the deaths that occur. That's what should happen. That'll stop them from doing that. Charge them with the deaths or hit them with some type of fines for the death. Some kind of way. You know what I mean? Some type of tariff style situation needs to go down. Everybody else getting hit with tariffs and everything like that, hit them with some tariffs too. Something like to stop them from doing this to people.
of the ships beached in Gadani in 2023 and 2024 show that most were registered under other flags of convenience, like Comoros, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Panama, but were usually owned by companies in China, the Middle East, and Greece.
मैं तो बोलता हूँ कि अगर जहाज भेजें माशाल्लाह हम गरीब आदमी मजदूरी करें इधर और अपना रोजी कमाएं अपने घरों में जाएं.
Well, there you have it then. I won't say nothing else about it then. He just said they need work. No matter how little they're getting paid, they still need it. So when looking at it from that aspect, hey, but I still think they should get hit with some type of tariff, and that money should go to these workers.
44-year-old Javed Iqbal sorts the parts Ashraf cuts up. But like most here, he doesn't have a license to handle this crane. He says no one's ever asked for it.
तो यार कोई अगर यार दोस्त है किसी के ऊपर गिर गया मार गया बहुत हालात खराब हो जाते हैं इंसान के.
Javed moved here 25 years ago. He sees his wife and 3 children once a year if he can afford time off.
घर वालों को पता ही नहीं है इधर के ये काम क्या करते हैं क्या नहीं खाली वो तनख्वाह देते हैं जाके उनको बस वो गांव के लोग हैं उनको क्या पता है जहाज इधर क्या चीज़ है ये क्रेन क्या चीज़ है.
Crane operators like Javed are among the best paid on the lot. But many workers here usually make about $4 a day less than the $6 minimum wage in Pakistan, which buys 2 gallons of milk there. Despite attempts to regulate the business, cheap labor and pollution are still a problem in yards across South Asia. But the Ali Aga yard in Turkey says it's different, and that it's developed a recycling infrastructure designed to handle toxic waste. That's partly why it's become one of the most popular destinations for Europe's old ships. But reports show that Ali Aga is heavily polluted with toxic substances. Now there's a new law, the Hong Kong Convention, which is set to take effect in June 2025.
On paper, it aims to make more parties, from the ship's owner to its flag state to the country that recycles it, responsible for safely disposing of it. The agreement requires every arriving ship to have an inventory of its hazardous waste and a clear plan for how to handle it. Before accepting a vessel, each yard needs to submit a recycling plan to its government and provide proof that they can do this without contaminating the environment or compromising workers' safety.
India, Bangladesh, and Turkey have all signed the treaty and have begun updating their yards.
Pakistan was the last major shipbreaking country to sign the convention, and it's done little to modernize its practices.
Pakistan is one of the worst destinations for end-of-life vessels.
And experts say the new law may not change much.
It was crafted by the shipping industry itself, and it's like putting the fox in charge of managing the chickens. If the convention will not be enforced properly and interpreted in a strict way, it will simply rubber stamp current substandard practices. It will greenwash the whole sector. What today is illegal and unethical will suddenly become legal and okay.
And people who have worked here their whole lives worry about that too.
शोरों से जब से हम आया तकरीबन हमारा 27-28 साल हो गया, 30 साल हो गया, वही का वही है. इसमें मैंने कोई ऐसी तब्दीली नहीं देखा. मुस्तकबिल यहाँ का ये ऐसे ही चलेगा. जब पाकिस्तान ऐसी तरह होता है तो ये ऐसे ही चलेंगे.
Azam had other
Yeah, that goes to show you they don't care at all. They want to change the rules but don't want to fix the conditions. How does that sound? How does that make any sense? No, change the conditions. Fix that. Take care of your people. Like what? Yeah, I wouldn't sign either. I don't send your stuff here. Let me stop because they need work. But man, I want them to get some better conditions.
family members who worked here too.
But in 2016, an old oil tanker exploded while it was getting broken down. The blast claimed the lives of at least 29 men.
Azam's relatives were among them. The explosion left another 60 people severely burned or disabled for life.
Workers we spoke with said since the incident, their employers have first aid and ambulances on standby. The closest hospital is about 6 miles away, but it isn't equipped to handle serious cases.
The badly injured have to travel 1 hour to Karachi.
एक जंगल में रहना और उसमें अपना पेट पालना है.
We couldn't reach the manager of the lot, Azam.
Man, at least they got something at least. I didn't think they had anything. When you tell me there's no markets there, I'm thinking, okay, then that means there's no hospitals, there's no anything nearby. But at least they got that at least, which still isn't much.
Khan works on, but we spoke with the chairman of the Pakistan Shipbreakers Association. He also runs a ship lot here.
2017 में जो अफसोसनाक वाक़या हुआ उसमें तकरीबन 21 आदमी मरे और हमने पर जो लेबर है उसको तकरीबन 20 से 21 लाख रुपया कंपनसेशन का दिया.
That's about $750 paid to the family of a worker who died on the job.
But activists say that families are often not notified since many workers don't have proof of employment. Farooqi says that's not true.
रजिस्टर्ड तो हमारे पास भी रजिस्टर्ड होते हैं, बाकायदा तौर पर उनका
Was he rocking a Rolex? Somebody getting paid. That's all I'm saying. I ain't got no Rolex. Somebody getting paid. It's getting cut off somewhere. Somewhere down the pipeline, there's clog, and the money's not coming all the way through to the people. And it might stop at this Rolex. That's all I'm saying.
Not true.
रजिस्टर्ड तो हमारे पास भी रजिस्टर्ड होते हैं, बाकायदा तौर पर उनका आईडी जो है वो हम इसका नाम के अपने पास रखते हैं और उसको पुलिस स्टेशन में उसको रजिस्टर्ड भी कराते हैं। उसकी जो फॉर्मेलिटीज़ हैं, जो गवर्नमेंट की लेबर लॉज हैं और दूसरे लॉज हैं, उसको बाकायदा तौर पर यहाँ पर हम पूरा उसको वो करते हैं।
Gadani is divided into 132 lots. Some are owned by private landowners and others by the government, which leases the lots to private companies.
But these days, many are vacant because getting a ship to Pakistan has gotten so expensive. For example, the folks who bought the Enterprise Majuro from its Greek owners paid about $10 million for it. Then they had to pay a 17% customs tax to the Pakistani government and another 17% tax on all the parts of the ship that were resellable. There's also a 1% regional tax in Gadani. All this adds up to roughly $13.5 million. It's unclear if lot owners actually pay all the taxes. Many have been accused of exploiting government connections to skirt regulations. But shipyard owners say getting these vessels here ultimately helps the workers too.
जब ये जहाज नहीं होते तो ये बेचारे सारे बेरोजगार हो जाते हैं और इनके पास कोई रोजगार का कोई मुताबिल कोई वो भी नहीं है।
Once a ship is broken apart, workers salvage everything from desks and cabinets, which can be resold as wood scraps, down to the screws and cables that once held all the ship's parts together.
तो इसमें हज़ार किस्म का माल होते हैं, उसका मुख्तलिफ रेट होती है। जैसा का मतलब घर में बर्तन है तो उसका अलग रेट है, रज़ाई बिस्तरे का अलग रेट है, दरवाजे का अलग रेट है।
In fact, up to 95% of a ship's remains can return a profit.
A ship's steel hull is among the most prized of its parts.
The manager of this ship lot can resell it to metal mills for millions of dollars. The Gadani shipyard salvages about 1.5 million tons of steel a year, accounting for 20% of all the steel Pakistan uses. It takes about 400 trucks to move just one ship's remains to their next destination.
This truck is off to a factory in Lahore.
फिर हम खाली करते हैं, ये चादर जो है ये मजदूर नहीं उठा सकते, तो ये हम टेकर कर लेते हैं मजदूरों के साथ, वो छोटा छोटा कर लेते हैं।
Then they sort the scrap into piles depending on the shape and type of metal. Workers cut the ship walls into rectangles to fit this slicing machine.
कोई मिल वाला जो है वो स्पेशल सरिया बना देते हैं, वो जो है उसे नट काबले वगैरह।
This crew got here at 4:30 a.m. and they won't finish until 8 p.m. 16-hour shifts are standard here. These links were once part of a chain used to anchor a ship. Workers have to heat this to over 1800 degrees Fahrenheit to make the links easier to reshape. That process emits toxic vapors, which could permanently scar a worker's lungs. At this factory, they usually repurpose about 10 to 15 tons of scrap a day, which helps reduce the nation's demand for mining new steel. Most of the repurposed metal ends up at construction sites across Pakistan where it's used to build bridges, roads, and buildings. Every year, about 1,000 ships need to find their final resting place, where they'll get scrapped and recycled.
I see a lot of money. I see a lot of money. A lot of money being made, and these workers just aren't benefiting from it. Look at how they reusing the parts and different things that come off the ships. Look at all the wood and different things. You've been on a cruise ship. You've seen imagine how much stuff is left there and abandoned. All that stuff of value. Like, these workers are being exploited, man. Super exploited. Nah, it's not right, bro. This should be illegal.
Azam isn't sure how many more he'll break down within his lifetime.
But he says he knows that one day this beach will become his graveyard too.
मुस्तकबिल ये है कि बस मौत तक ये काम करते हैं, अगर अल्लाह ने चाहा तो यहाँ से नसीब बदल हो सकती है। दिन तो ऐसी गुजरती है कि बच्चों माँ बाप से दूर, महीना नहीं है, 2 नहीं है, 4 नहीं है, साल नहीं है, 2 साल नहीं है, 3 साल नहीं है ना, ज़िंदगी सारा यहाँ गुजरती है, तो लाजमी बात है आदमी को अफसोस और दुख होता है।
That's rough to hear, man. To go off to work and never see your family again. No contact, no communication. All you have is your thoughts. Talk about depression. Yeah, they're depressed. Yeah. What do y'all expect? They just went somewhere and working until they die. I'm starting to get depressed just thinking about it, man. Y'all let me know what you thought of this video. I'm gone.